Hi, my name is Comet and welcome to my cosmic corner of the internet where we discuss all things astrology, and today all things Virgo full moon, March 7th, 2023, and you. What wake-up call, cleanup call this full moon is illuminating within your chart and within your life, and how you can answer this call in order to make this full moon, as well as the forthcoming Saturn and Pisces transit, a lot more bearable and a lot more constructive. On March 7th, around 4:40 a.m. PST, the Pisces sun will oppose the Virgo moon. And this is really the balance of spirit, Pisces sun, meets substance, Virgo moon. It's the balance of the magical Pisces sun with the mundane Virgo moon. And when they work together, it's this beautiful give and take between taking some of those dreams and putting them into reality, looking at the details of our life in order to up level to the highest potential of our own existence. Like, it is this really fluid, really beautiful combination around taking our visions, taking our daydreams, and turning them into structure, turning them into substance. But this full moon is less of a gentle prod to take our dreams into reality and more so a wake-up call out of our dreams to attend to our reality. This full moon exacts about 45 minutes before Saturn ingresses into Pisces. So it happens one after the other, bam, bam. So it's almost like this illumination of the messes of our life, right? The Virgo full moon. It's snapping the Pisces sun out of its reverie, out of its daydreams, and saying, we need to clean up, we need to improve our life. These are the arenas we need to work on. Because with Saturn then entering Pisces, entering this axis shortly after, it's like the work begins. So it almost feels like this full moon is sort of this illumination around, okay, here's the work that we have to do. Here's what we have to do to clean up. And it's really important that we face the work, face the mess head on during this lunation. It does feel a bit overwhelming. We have Mars and Gemini in the mix, squaring off with the two luminaries, but just being able to survey what is coming up within your world, within your chart, what mess you are being asked to clean up, not just this Virgo moon, but also with the Saturn and Pisces transit. And when it comes to cleaning up messes, when it comes to taking in the valuable data that is coming up this Virgo full moon, we need to make sure our brain is in the zone, that we are in that flow state, so we can make sure that we're handling this arena of our life and then this arena of our life, staying grounded, present, and productive within the present moment, snapping that Pisces sun into work out of its sleepy, dreamy energy, and handling what this Virgo full moon is illuminating within our world. So really important that your brain with this Mercury-ruled lunation is working at tip-top shape, and for that, I love to utilize Magic Mind, who is a sponsor of this full moon forecast. Magic Mind is the world's first productivity drink. So it works with your brain in order to support flow state. Have you guys felt that? When there is no separation between you and the task that you are working on. You can actually access more brain power, more you out of you when you are in that state. I'm telling you, with this full moon, we could be feeling all over the place, scattered, a little bit frantic. So it's really important that we are supporting our brain and thus supporting our life with what it is that it needs to stay on track, to stay focused, and to stay improving on the arenas of what the Virgo full moon is illuminating for us. Magic Mind has a brand new formula, 4.0, that I absolutely adore. Great news for my vegan loves. It is now sweetened with agave. So all of the adaptogens and nootropics that you love, and none of the honey, which is amazing. I love the new color of it. It's like this pretty green. And if anyone's curious about trying it, it tastes like matcha. So sometimes I'll just take the shot on itself. Sometimes I'll make it into a little hot matcha. Lately I've been loving, or cold matcha. And when it comes to this full moon squaring Mars, we can all be a little low on patience, right? We're feeling scattered, so much data coming in. And now, my loves, I have great news. With the new formula, you no longer have to wait 30 minutes prior to feeling it kick in. It now kicks in within really 5 minutes is when I start to feel it. And I'm like, okay, we are in the zone. We are flying. So you'll see me throughout the course of this video get more and more dialed in, more and more zoned in. I drink a lot of coffee and it makes me super, super jittery. If I'm already in an anxious state, it simply enhances that. Whereas Magic Mind is more of a focused, balanced energy that doesn't make my nervous system run haywire. So if you are like me, you have a lot of beautiful placements, or you're moving into a season of life where you really need to access all of your brain power, I would love for you to try it. We've got some work to do this Virgo full moon, so we need to make sure that we are in the zone, in that flow state as we do it. Make sure to use code COMET20 in order to secure 20% off your Magic Mind subscription. And cheers, my love. Let's talk about this dazzling yet dizzying Virgo full moon. Cheers. Okay, love it. Now we are in the zone and ready to talk about the Virgo full moon. So the Virgo full moon exacts on March 7th, 2023 at 4:40 a.m. PST. It lands at 16 degrees Virgo, opposing the sun, which is sitting at 16 degrees Pisces. And as I alluded to earlier, this axis is essentially the Virgo moon wanting to improve upon the details of daily living, right? Focus upon the imperfections in order to improve them. Whereas Pisces sun is more so about tuning into the perfection that exists already, tuning into the divinity that exists, being able to attune to something like it's a big picture canvas rather than harping on the details around, oh, that's a little squiggly, that color doesn't match the rest of the colors. It's about just being able to appreciate the beauty of the big picture. Now, are there downsides in that? Surely, like with the Pisces sun, there can be a tendency to gloss over the details, to procrastinate, to live in dreamland, just be like, oh, it's all fine, everything's perfect. And the Virgo moon's like, it's actually not. There's a lot to do, right? And so within this axis, it really is illuminating what our work is, the work that is cut out for us. And with Saturn and Pisces, we're not going to be able to retreat into our dream world in the same way. We can no longer just retreat and say, it's all good, it's all fine. Like with Saturn and Pisces, there's almost this energy in that we're not going to be totally able to escape as we have prior. It's making us really show up, right? It's making us show up in order to take those elements of our dream world. Like, so if we have little happy daydreams that we just escape to when, you know, we're going through it, like the Saturn and Pisces is like, how can we take elements of that daydream and take it into the practicality, which again, the Virgo moon is supporting in that aim. But I will say something that I've observed just with this particular transit already, just kind of the first rumblings of this forthcoming transit, is a lot of people are feeling so grounded or so tethered within reality and how things are that they don't necessarily feel afforded the space to dream. And of course, that makes me sad. It's not about not dreaming at all and just being like, well, this is reality this is what I am, this is all that it is. But more so with this full moon and with the forthcoming Saturn and Pisces, it's around what is your safe space that you retreat into your mind, and how can we begin to tangibly and practically pull some of those arenas and put them into our practical existence? How can we take our spiritual connection and how can we make it something practical and tangible in part of how it is that we interact with the external world, how it is that we treat our neighbors and our community, how it is that our beliefs and our dreams show up within our physical, tangible reality. So no, we're not having the space to be able to escape into our own dreams, but we are being invited to show up for them, to turn them into reality. But when it comes to Saturn, it always whispers before it screams. And that oftentimes when we are embarking upon a Saturn transit, it sort of will softly point out, hey, let's focus upon this detail. Remember, Virgo moon's all about the details. Let's focus on this piece, and let's focus on this piece, and let's improve this. This area of our life needs to be cleaned up. This relationship is a mess. Just kind of attuning to all the details, right? And with Saturn, it's sort of the energy where it kind of whispers like, hey, you got to clean up your relationship. Hey, you got to clean up your relationship. Another fight. You didn't listen. You didn't clean it up. Hey, you got to clean up your relationship. Something else happens. And it's not that I want you to live in fear of Saturn, but I do think it's important that we respect Saturn, right? And with this full moon, it's essentially, even though Saturn's not technically involved with it happening right after does feel very significant. It's almost like this energy where it's really making us address head on, face on. We don't have the space to retreat into our own dreamland or retreat into escapism or not deal with it. It's saying, hey, you need to clean this up. And I won't lie to you, this full moon does feel to be more of a scream than a whisper, because this full moon squares Mars, which has not cleared the shadow from its retrograde. So it's still not in new territory. And with Mars and Gemini, you know, this is overwhelmed. This is burnout. This is feeling scattered, right? And with this this lunation squaring Mars, we can be feeling a lot more erratic. We can be feeling a lot more overwhelmed. We can be feeling a lot more frustrated and angry and just burnt out. And again, it's not that we're looking at what it is that we need to clean up and we're just like singing the clean up, everybody, everywhere, just grabbing our brooms and be like, I'm gonna clean up this arena of my life. It feels to be a little bit jarring. It feels to be a little bit angry and frustrated. Again, I don't want you to be in fear this full moon. I don't want you to be in fear of any of the planets altogether. But there just feels to be this energy where something is being snapped to our awareness. And with this lunation squaring Mars, we could be feeling frantic. We could be feeling frazzled. We could be feeling all over the place. A lot of data is coming in and we can be a little bit more snippy, a little bit more reactive with others because we are so frustrated or feel like we are being pulled in so many different directions. And if you watch my weekly horoscope series, it's called Magic Monday. You can check it out here. I post every Sunday on the forthcoming week's astrology. And if you watch that, you know I'm big on analogies. And when I looked at this full moon, it's like a teenage house party where, you know, the night before it was so fun. And that's like the Pisces sun part of this lunation, where it's like we are just partying, we are in a dream, nothing's real, it's a good time, just avoid it all. Oh, you spilled, no big deal, we'll deal with it later. Later arrives. The thing about later is that later eventually shows up. And the next morning, things look much different in the morning light. And that's what this full moon feels like. The moment after a teenage house party when you wake up and survey the damage that's been done and you're like, oh my goodness, there's a lot to clean up. My parents come back in 3 hours and you kind of have to survey, oh, that lamp is broken. Jimmy broke that lamp. Oh, jungle juice was spilt over here. Oh, where is my watch? You begin to attune to all of what occurred and what was so fun. And it was just like, this night's gonna last forever. We're just gonna live in this happy, inebriated space. It's like the next day, things look a lot different. And that's what this full moon feels like. It feels like maybe not waking up after a house party, but there is this energy around having to attune to, okay, there's certain areas of my life that I am feeling called to clean up. And it's like when you're in that state, when there's so much to clean up, you're like, do I call the lamp fixers? Do I start to sweep? Do I find my watch? Like you just feel so frazzled that you're almost like running through the house, just trying to do everything and not really because you're just so distracted. Like you start to fix the lamp and then you're like, I should do this. And then you're not really getting anything done because you're just kind of running around. That's kind of the danger of this full moon. It's that it does feel like a lot is coming through. I mean, it's a Mercury-ruled full moon squaring Mars and Gemini. Another Mercury-ruled Mars. We're frazzled, we're overwhelmed, there's a lot coming in, there's a lot to fix, there's a lot to improve. And maybe it's not a house party for you. Maybe it's this energy around needing to face, you know, certain habits of yours where you're like, okay, this has sort of gotten out of control. Or maybe it's having to face a certain relationship or a certain arena of your life. Maybe it's not a house party, but it's realizing, hey, my job is a mess. Like I'm not feeling aligned with this. This does not support me in where it is that I want to go. Like again, I want you to be attentive to what comes up during the Virgo full moon and what it is that you are being guided to clean up. Again, it's sort of ripping us out of the Pisces sun party, right? The daydream, and making us face reality. And things look much different in the morning light. What used to be so fun and the sun is never going to rise, the sun does rise. And with this Virgo moon, it's almost just having to face our habits, the details of our life, and the arenas that we are feeling called to improve upon. Again, I don't want you to get into the space around, I'm not good enough. Like that's really important with the Virgo moon to keep our eye around where it is that we are hyper-focusing on our details, hyper-focusing on what's wrong with us, right? And seeing if you can approach it from this loving lens around, I love myself so much that I deserve to live in a clean house. After this house party, I deserve to have this clean lamp. Like understanding that this act of cleaning up, I don't want it to come from, because it can easily spiral to this place around, I'm not good enough. Or again, with the Virgo energy being perfection, we live in an imperfect world. It's not that we are seeking perfection, but just knowing that you are worthy of attuning to these details and improving your reality. Again, our relationship to the dream world, to the escape, is going to change with Saturn entering Pisces. So it's asking you, okay, as you gain clarity, again, we can't just go upstairs and throw another party, essentially. It's like we're gaining clarity. We're seeing what has kind of gotten out of control of our life, whether it's a habit, some arena of our life, and essentially just kind of, it's time to clean up. It's time to clean up because we owe it to ourselves to live in a clean house. And maybe there's other arenas of how we can invite in what it was that we were finding with that party, whether it was connection or whether it was fun. Maybe we can find it in a new way that won't totally destroy our house and get our watch stolen. So let's talk about how it is that you can celebrate this Virgo full moon. So the full moon exacts on March 7th at 4:40 a.m. PST, and here are some ways that you can celebrate. Firstly, I would really advise, especially with Saturn entering Pisces, strive to stay in a clear-headed, sober state of mind. Like I said, this is a full moon about clarity, and there is this overwhelming energy. Like again, it's overwhelming to step down from the house party and take in everything that's broken or everything that needs to be cleaned. It's like a lot. You almost just want to run away and go upstairs and not deal with it, but that doesn't really fix the problem. And this Virgo full moon is illuminating to us where there's a problem that we are being guided to fix, right? And so I would strive during this full moon to stay in a somber state of mind. I know it's Pisces season, so the temptation to escape, whether it's into a wine bottle or into a situationship, whatever, this tendency to just not deal with reality, escape into our own world is high, but this full moon is asking for us to realistically and practically face things head on. So I do encourage being in a sober state of mind for that work. And I would also suggest like doing something spiritual. Like at the highest level of this axis, it's quite magical. Like this is a mystic's axis. Like with Pisces, it's the energy of spirit, of source. So creating some space to be able to tune in, and truly with the Virgo moon, the best way that I find, I mean, this is my axis. I'm a Pisces sun, Virgo moon, and the best way that I find tuning into it is really moving your physical body or attuning to your physical environment. So whether it's taking a yoga class, whether it is dancing, whether it is running, something that helps you get into a meditative state can be a really powerful way to celebrate this full moon, especially with the square to Mars. It can just help you release some excess energy and gain some mental clarity. As well as what I find is that I'm able to tune into source a lot easier when I'm physically moving my body. And just with the Virgo moon, as I highlighted, we can be feeling anxious, overwhelmed. So just doing something that allows your brain to kind of quiet down so that spirit can talk would be very supportive. Another technique that I would recommend is cleaning. Honestly, clean up everybody everywhere. And not just because I use that analogy of the house party, but because that can also be a spiritual act. Like that is what this axis is about, is how it is that we infuse magic, Pisces, into the mundane, Virgo. So it would be very aligned for you to clean your house and really up-level it to a spiritual act, right? Like being able to visualize as you sweep, getting out the dust out, but also getting the bad energy out, like going through old belongings, clearing out clutter, and just thinking about clearing out what no longer serves and creating good energy to bring in what does. I think a lot of times, and maybe this is my Virgo moon talking, but I know certainly for me, if you look at my environment, it's a great reflection of what's going on in here and what's going on in here. So look at your environment and really seek to find that clarity both within you as well as around you. I want to let you know, please be careful, okay? Like just be patient as you are driving. Like again, there's this overwhelming energy of this full moon where you could be feeling, I got to get to work because I got to talk to my boss. Like it just, there feels to be, it's a very busy full moon. Honestly, I feel like we're going to have a lot of busy energy, which again, busy news, busy at work, like it just feels busy. And it's like, how can you be an observer of the busy without feeling like you have to attune to that pace? Because with the square to Mars, we can make mistakes, we could get hurt, we could be too much in a rush. Again, I'm not putting it out there, I just want you to be mindful. The last lunation that we had with Mars involved, I dumped an entire cup of tea on my laptop, like mistakes like that, because I was going too fast, right? So slow down. If you get overwhelmed by all that you need to do, the Virgo moon approves, make a little list, this and this, and make sure that you schedule in time to connect with spirit. That's a beautiful utilization around the Virgo energy of scheduling. Okay, from 5 to 6, I'm going to do a little ritual by myself to bring in spirit, the Pisces energy. So schedule some time for yourself and observe where it is that you're feeling very reactive or feeling very impatient, and take a deep breath. Okay, with the energy of Mars, sometimes we could be more angry, we could be more frustrated, as well as we can be a little bit more aggressive, whether that's on the highway or anything of that nature. Again, I'm not saying you have to all day just be like, but just take a beat before reacting, because again, it's a Mercury-ruled full moon with Mars involved, so we could just be a little more reactive as it relates to our language, which is just something that I want you to be mindful of. And some other ways to celebrate is truly spending time in nature. Virgo is an earth sign, so maybe that's how it is that you connect to your spirit. Maybe even spending time by a nature that have some water would be a beautiful utilization of this Virgo moon and the Pisces sun. So now that we've dove into this Virgo full moon, let's talk about how to find where it's landing within your chart and the story that it's bringing up within your life. So let's chat about where your mess is that essentially the Virgo moon is having you clean up. So there are a couple options for this. The first being, if you are newer to astrology or you utilize whole house sign system, I want you to look below and find your ascendant sign. So I'll have likely Gemini ascendant. If you're a Gemini rising, click to that timestamp, and that is your reading. The other option is if you utilize Placidus. It's a house system. I utilize it as well. It is a little bit more complicated, but in my personal opinion, it is the house system that I prefer utilizing. So if you don't know how to find it, I'll take you step by step. Step one, go to astro.com, find your circle chart. I want you to find the Virgo symbol. It looks like an M, but rather than the little part sticking out like Scorpio, it's tucked in. So it's like a little M with its tail tucked in, and it's green in astro.com. Amazing. So that's the Virgo portion on the outside. And I want you to just see within that expanse of that green symbol, I want you to see if you follow the pieces of pizza that sign expands beyond on the outside. Notice which numbers are on the inner ring. So in this example that I'm showing you on screen, we see that that Virgo symbol is between the 11th and the 12th house. You can either listen to both 11th house and 12th house readings, or we'll get specific and find where exactly 16 degrees Virgo is, because that's where this full moon lands. So we want to find the portion of Virgo that borders the red Leo symbol. That's because Leo comes before Virgo in the zodiacal order, so we know where Leo ends, Virgo begins. So find the line in between Virgo and Leo. Amazing. This is 0 degrees Virgo. These little grid marks, they move in increments of 5. So this is 5 degrees Virgo, 10 degrees Virgo, 15 degrees Virgo. Since this lunation is at 16 degrees Virgo, we know wherever that 15 grid mark, so the third little grid mark is, we know this full moon would land around there. Now, sometimes it's not as easy to tell. We can see within this example on screen, it's like, it's most likely within the 12th house, but let's make sure. What I want you to do is click PDF additional tables in astro.com. Cast your gaze over to the right-hand side and see which degree starts the 12th house, or whichever house you're in between, or you can just find the Virgo symbol. And we see that the 12th house begins at 14 degrees Virgo. So because that comes before 16 degrees Virgo, which is where this full moon lands, we have that certainty and that clarity that this full moon lands in the 12th house. So that is the reading that I would listen to. So without further ado, let's dive into our house by house Virgo full moon analysis. If the Virgo full moon lands within the first house, this reading is for you. You may potentially be a Virgo ascendant, but not always. So make sure to listen to the reading of wherever you have 16 degrees Virgo. So the full moon is shining bright in your first house of self-identity. And you might be asking from the question I posed earlier where I'm like, what is the mess that you're cleaning up? You're like, wait, it's in the house of self. Am I the mess? Am I the problem? No, you are not necessarily the problem, but with the full moon in the first house, this will be a more impactful full moon for you. You could honestly be feeling around this full moon like you are running around like a chicken with your head cut off. You could just be feeling extra busy. There's a lot of demands put on you, and you're having to get a little bit more stingy about your energy and who it is that you give it to. You cannot be everything to everybody. And a lot of you who have this will be Virgo ascendants. At the very least, you have at least some Virgo within your first house. So it's like you guys do have this encoded part into you around always got to be helpful, always have to have it together. And it's like the cracks are beginning to show around, okay, I actually don't have it all together, and that's okay. A lot of times when it comes to Virgo energy, there's this embedded feeling of perfectionism. I've got to have it all together. I've got to have it all together. I've got to have it all together. And it's like allowing yourself that space to realize like you don't have to be everything to everybody. A lot of you have spread yourselves so thin, and maybe there's this energy around not necessarily being able to like connect with people in the same way because you just don't have as much time to be able to connect. Maybe you've been going through it in some ways, but there's just this energy where you're being asked to be a little bit more stingy about who and what you are giving your attention to, because with this lunation, it's essentially pulling in your first house of self, who it is that you are, 7th house of relationships, and your 10th house of career, and you have Mars in career. So with Mars in your career sector, you could have been finding that you've been working really hard, you've been feeling really, really scattered, you have a lot going on, a lot pulling at your attention, and this full moon is either going to go one of these two ways. There could be an energy where, especially with the square to Mars, it's just this energy where it's like, enough, I quit. Now, I'm not saying you quit your job, but if there was like one little request that someone in your life makes, like you're already overwhelmed, you're already having a bad day, and then your friend's like, hey, could you pop around with the newspaper? Your husband's like, hey, can you grab me water? And it's like, that's the final thing where you're like, I can't do it all. I can't do it all for everybody, okay? There's just this energy around you are spread too thin, and that's okay. Like, it's almost like allowing that veneer to fall around, I've got it all together. I've got it all together. I've got it all together. Like, what would it look like if you didn't have it all together? Like, do you feel like your value is tied into you having it all together for every single person? And a lot of times, like I highlighted earlier, you know, things whisper before they scream. So it's like you might have been feeling this energy around, I feel burnt out, there's too much going on, but it's like this is sort of the scream where it's like, enough. Enough is enough. For some of you, the story is a little different. You could have been, so much energy of yours has been pulled into work. You might have had less space and time to connect with your relationships. And this is sort of a full moon to realize, hey, having these people in my life makes me more of myself. These people are grounding for me. These people attune me to the big picture. So if you're someone where you've kind of been going through it in a certain sense and you kind of detach when that happens or just attune to your own inner world and you haven't been reaching out, whether it's like reaching out for help, like, hey, I need help with this, or reaching out to like a loved one and saying, hey, I'm actually not doing so good. Or like, hey, do you want to spend time? It's almost this energy around allowing yourself to rebalance your life, because it just feels truly with where this is landing, you haven't been very balanced. And with this full moon lighting up your first house, you might be more visible like around this time, whether it's you're feeling called to sort of dial in your aesthetic, whether you're just noticing more people are looking at you. There is this energy of like enhanced visibility. And the thing about enhanced visibility is that oftentimes it can prompt certain insecurities, because you are seeing yourself and witnessing yourself being visible by many more people. And with, you know, Virgo falling somewhat in your first house, you could be quite critical about yourself. So when there's more eyeballs on you, you can feel like everybody's going to be as critical as you are and like picking you apart, and it can, like the eyeballs can feel like daggers. So again, like one thing to tap into is just like understanding I do not need to be perfect, right? It's like balancing this with the Pisces energy around people want to focus upon your divinity. They want to focus upon your perfection. So it's like the more that you kind of free yourself from always kind of hyper focusing on where your imperfections are, the more you allow people in your world to celebrate you. Like this could even show up around before a presentation at work. You're like, well, yeah, it's pretty good, except I have a typo right here. Like going out of your way to point out flaws about yourself, or maybe someone compliments your shirt and you're like, yeah, it's okay, but you know, it was $2 at the thrift store. Like, you know me, like I don't know how to shop, like blah. Like notice where it is and how it is that you respond when you have more eyeballs, when you have more adoration on you. Because I just see like with this Pisces sun lighting up your 7th house, it's almost energy around people want to focus upon your perfection and they want to celebrate you. You're the one who keeps drawing awareness to your flaws because you hyper focus on them, so you think everybody else does too. So allowing yourself to play with what if I could call in, whether it's, you know, first house is just self. So when it comes to visibility, it could be at work, it could be putting yourself out there for dating, but allowing yourself to lead with this energy around, it's not that you're ignoring your imperfections. Again, with the Virgo full moon, there's this energy around noticing what it is that we're feeling called to clean up, but choosing to lead instead with your strengths rather than with your flaws or with your insecurities, I'm just feeling is a really big theme for you guys this particular full moon. Now, the mess you're feeling called to clean up is your relationships, truly. Because as I highlighted, a lot of you have been really burnt out, and it's like, either you haven't been making time for relationships, or you're so burnt out because you're putting your energy towards the wrong relationships. And Saturn is going to allow you to look at that. And again, there's also, this will only be a message for a couple people, but I'm also curious with this energy of any sort of like kind of criticism that comes from within when it comes to yourself. Observe which people you feel the most confident about. Like, you are someone who is more critical, but I'm just observing if there are certain people that you spend time with who also sort of nag you or point out your insecurities or your imperfections. Because with Saturn, you might have to get a little bit more kind of stingy with your energy or with your boundaries, as well as just observing, well, no wonder that's why I like don't put myself out there for new opportunities or on social media. I feel like people are just going to hyper focus on my insecurities because that's what the people in my life do. And it's like, is that right? Do I feel like I'm able to be more myself or less myself? Do I feel like the relationships in my life celebrate my divinity, or do I feel like they hyper focus upon my flaws? We all have flaws. It's not that anybody's perfect, but observing how it is that you feel within connections. If you feel celebrated, if you feel like your qualities are just glowing so much when you're in the orbit of those that you care about, and where it is that you feel a little less shimmery, a little less sparkly. Because I'm just feeling for some of you, some of that has been leaking into how it is that you perceive yourself, where it's like, oh, well, my partner always says that this and this and this, and then you begin to think that. And I'm just feeling with this full moon in your first house, there's more visibility coming your way. So it's just this energy around how to show up for that and not sort of self-sabotage yourself from opportunities because you feel like people will be as critical of you as you are of yourself. And as perhaps for some of you, interpersonal connections of your life have been for you. So really during this full moon, it does feel like a time that you will be a little bit more frantic, a little bit more frazzled, and just really observing where it is that people are showing up for you, are being this grounding force, and where people are kind of pulling away from you, being like, you don't have time for me, or like, what do you mean? Like, where are people supporting your efforts and supporting your stress? Not feeding your stress, but like supporting you in it around, okay, what is it that I need to do? How can I support you? And where people are like, what do you mean you have to work more? What do you mean you have this magazine shoot? Like, really observe how the people around you are reacting, and are they being a grounding force, or are they leaking more than they are adding to your life, is really your work with this Virgo full moon. If the Virgo full moon lands within the second house of your astrological natal chart, this reading is for you. You may potentially be a Leo ascendant, but not always. So make sure to listen to the reading of whichever house you have 16 degrees Virgo within. So my love, there is a spotlight essentially being casted on your money and on your finances. And around this time, you could be feeling like you are running around, maybe having to work extra hard as it relates to money. Money can be showing up for you in magical ways. The affirmation I would dial in around this full moon is like, the universe supports me and money reaches me in unexpected ways. Like with the Pisces sun lighting up your 8th house, like just being open to unexpected streams of income and support. Like even just mentally observing the abundance that like comes into your reality. And that's not always monetarily. You might be like, Haley, Comet, what do you mean? Is a money bag just gonna fall from the sky? Maybe not, but maybe that, maybe your brother treats you to a lunch and just being like, thank you, universe. Or maybe, you get your tax refund and you're like, thank you, universe. Or maybe, there was an overage on some sort of insurance payout, whatever. Just observing and being open to unexpected checks, unexpected streams of support. And I'm just seeing with this Virgo full moon illuminating the second house, a lot of you have been having a lot of like stresses around finances, or a lot of you have just been kind of like nervous about it. And just with Mars in the 11th house, a lot of you have been putting in a lot of effort towards your hopes and dreams and being like, how are things going to show up? Like, I just need my bank account to look like this. I want this to show up for me now, right? Like almost getting impatient. Like my advice for you around this full moon is like not to get ahead of yourself. Like again, with this Virgo full moon, things may feel overwhelming. You may feel like you're working super hard, running around, trying to do it all and be it all. And it's just kind of this ask around, remember to do the metaphysical side of things too. Okay, like I'm just strongly feeling that I need to mention to you, like ensuring that your material, practical actions are backed by your spiritual connection. Okay, so it's like I'm just really feeling this call around, I'm doing my work and the universe is doing its. Like I'm just feeling for you, there can be this energy around this full moon around allowing the universe to support you, or allowing other people to support you, or anything of that nature. For some of you, you could be feeling like it's really important for you to do things yourself, and don't get me wrong, but is important. That is important. But oftentimes when we block out people who want to help us, people who want to loan us things or buy us something, we're saying to the universe, no, you don't have to give towards me. I'm good, right? And oftentimes the universe is like, wait, we want to give towards you. So I'm just feeling, observe where it is that you feel like you're running around, doing it all, trying to be it all, right? With this Virgo moon in the second house, feeling like you have to run around and make all this money, which again is important in our material, practical existence. But it's also asking, ensure that you kind of balance it with the spiritual work on the back end around setting up your business, setting up the website, whatever it is to allow that money to flow into you, but also just like having affirmations around, I am an open vessel to pour in, having gratitude for what has already shown up within your reality, like matching all of your material, practical efforts with kind of the spiritual backing. And a lot of you I know are like, what do you mean? Is that just going to magically make money come my way? I just feel for some of you, you've been running around and just kind of frustrated at how long things are taking. And it's just kind of a call around, like, practically there's only so much you can do, and the universe will show up for you in really aligned, unexpected ways. But firstly, you have to let it. And secondly, you need to kind of be open to miracles, or be open to magic, being open to, I set up my website and I got everything dialed in. Okay, universe, you could do your job. Like, I'm just really feeling this mantra for you guys. I did my job, universe, do yours. As well as for some of you, 8th house is support that's given to us from others, whether it's our one-to-one relationships or anything of the nature. So if someone does want to support you in some way, if there is some opportunity for an investment or a gift or an investment or something of that nature, like, observe where it is that you feel like I have to do it all myself, because that's also kind of signaling to the universe, I don't need you. Like, the universe could be trying to reach you through people, right? And remembering, like, also when it comes to I did my work and the universe does it, it's also beyond just like, wanting to make more money and wanting to both do the work within the practical existence and allow the metaphysical to find its way to you. I also just want to anchor in this idea around just ensuring that there is a balance within your world. I just feel like a lot of you have been really, really like busy just wanting to make money. And of course, we need money to survive. There's nothing wrong with that. But almost this Pisces sun is like, hey, don't forget about me. Don't forget about the spiritual components of your existence, right? Don't forget to anchor into the intangibles of life that make it worth living. And just noticing around this time what really comes up around finances, what really comes up around people wanting to support you. If they support you, of course, Saturn's just about to enter your 8th house. So it's not saying like if someone knocks on your door and is like, I have this investment for you, sign here, I'm advising that you do it. Like, absolutely not. Ensuring that you are being discerning, but it's a sort of this illumination around recognizing that physically and tangibly, there's only so much that we can do. There's only so many hours in the day. There's only so much practical efforts that we can take. It's just ensuring that your material, practical efforts are kind of matched by spirit, matched by intention. So you can even show up for this in such micro ways, even just like at work, like before, going to your desk, like setting up the space, like making it look nice, like infusing it with some spirit and some intentionality. Maybe for some of you who run your own businesses, when it comes to taxes, if there's certain like financial things that you've been kind of putting off, like kind of overwhelmed, like allowing yourself to put on your infuser and sip some cacao and handle it in a very calm, grounded manner. Again, when I talk about this blending of spirit with our practical existence, spirit with money, like, I'm not saying it's like sitting there waiting for money to come up, but it's essentially understanding the spiritual role that money can play, finding these ways that we can sort of remember our why in the pursuit of money. I would just really recommend, if any of you are scared to look at your bank account or anything of the nature, with this Virgo full moon, it's just asking you to face it head on, right? Attune to the little details. With the squared Mars, there can be frustrations or overwhelm. I feel for some of you, this won't be a message for everybody, but for some of you, you've been trying to compete with other people, whether it's like competing on the gram or like keeping up with the Joneses, and you could have been sort of like living outside of your means or something of that nature. With this full moon, it's sort of this return around what really matters to me. Like, what am I spending my money on and what truly matters on me? Why am I running around to try to buy this Tesla to flex on the gram or to be able to keep up with my friends or anything of that nature? Like, what matters to me truly? And what's the purpose of more money? Like, I'm just feeling for some of you, there's this energy around more. And this is sort of like a wake up call around, okay, what is my money being utilized for? Some of you here you're being asked to gain clarity on your finances, and also just returning to spirit around feeling open to unexpected streams of support and income to find us, and being attuned to spirit, both infusing spirit when it comes to our practical efforts. Again, if you're setting something up, let's say you own a boutique, setting up your boutique, again, that's a practical effort, but like listening to, abundance affirmations, like ways that you can just support the physical, tangible work that you are doing with feeling supported by the universe. That is my recommendation. And also, if you're someone where you're like, I'm scared of my finances, I don't want to check my bank account, again, finding when you can that support within the universe, playing the calming music, lighting a candle, and then just going through your bank account. Again, this is sort of a wake-up call, sort of full moon. So for some of you, there is sort of a wake-up call around finances and how it is that you are utilizing them that are really supporting you as a soul, and like ways that maybe they can be dialed in order to support you and your big picture why even more so. Hey there, Editing Haley here. Sorry for the interruption, but I also want to expand upon that Virgo is the sign of service, and second house, in addition to money, is also self-esteem. So some of you are having epiphanies around how it is that you feel valued within your place of work and where it is that you don't. Some of you may have epiphanies around understanding that your current role isn't getting you to where it is that you want to go, because most likely, if you have this here, you most likely have Mars transiting your 11th house, which is the house of hopes and dreams. So almost this energy around running, but like looking at your place of work, your employment, and realizing this isn't getting me to where it is that I want to go. Perhaps it's paying the bills, but I don't feel valued. This isn't really helping my next steps. Some of you can have an illumination at this time around feeling undervalued just because of the sheer amount of effort and work that you put into what it is that you do. Some of you, these epiphanies can be more positive in nature, having this heartfelt illumination around where it is that you do want to soulfully and spiritually contribute to this world, right? With the energy of Virgo, it's very practical, it's very helpful. So some of you can have an illumination, whether you're at your place of work and feel genuinely grateful to be able to help people, or someone really expresses their appreciation for you, or an illumination around a new way that you'd like to earn income that will really pull in all of your skills, all of your abilities, all of your helpfulness. If the Virgo full moon lands within the third house of your astrological natal chart, this reading is for you. You may potentially be a Cancer ascendant, but not always. So make sure to listen to the reading of where you have 16 degrees Virgo. So you are essentially getting this wake-up call when it comes to how it is that you talk to yourself. A lot of you guys are really critical, honestly. You're very hard on yourself, and you're focusing too much on the trees of your reality rather than the forest of the big picture. You're focusing more on the details around this area of my life could be being better, and like this isn't right. Like you could be hyper-focusing on your flaws. Maybe even some of you have been sort of critical about how it is that you communicate, or like even just feeling socially awkward. Like a lot of you have just been so in your head and very, very critical of yourself, of your method of expressing. And like a lot of you, like truly, you have Virgo in your third house. Like I'm sure you are such an amazing communicator, but there just feels to be this energy around being very critical of everything that you say and being like, oh, was that the right thing? And I'm just feeling a lot of you have been really in your head. I'm feeling that some of you could have been struggling with anxiety or stress, just like a lot of worry. And this is sort of a full moon that's sort of just a check-in around coming back to your soul, coming back to the big picture of it all, like essentially attuning to the forest and not just the trees. And again, I know it can feel very, very uncomfortable when you are moving through things where you are feeling frazzled, you're feeling overwhelmed, there's a lot going on, and it's hard to sit back and trust, but that's really the beckoning of this full moon around how is it that you can feel surrender, how is it that you can trust, how is it that you can connect to the big picture. Even if you are moving through a time when you want a ETA, you want to know exactly where you're going, you want to know exactly what your life has in store, how can you sink into the journey of it without needing an itinerary of it, which I know is uncomfortable. And this full moon is sort of asking you to find that sensation of surrendering into the big picture and into your spiritual connection, essentially. And with this Virgo full moon, this will be a message for a couple of you. With this Virgo full moon, opposing Neptune in the third house, a lot of you have been spending too much time on social media, and it has not been helping your mind. Again, Virgo is the sign of habits around what it is that we do every single day. And for some of you, I'm just feeling that, your social media consumption or news consumption or media consumption has sort of been taking a negative toll on your brain and on your mental state, and making you more so tuning into what's going wrong with what's going right. Again, there could be a lot going wrong. I'm not invalidating that. Essentially empower your brain with what it is that it needs in order to genuinely thrive, right? And I feel like for some of you, you've been so critical, you've been so in your head just because of all of this data around how other people are living and things of that nature that make you feel like you're doing something wrong. And this Pisces sun, like in the 9th house, you know, by Neptune, it's sort of this call around, hey, remember the journey that you're on. Remember what it is that gives your life meaning. It's spirit, it's beliefs, it's our religion, whatever it is. I would deeply recommend with this full moon, take a little social media pause, truly. Like I'm just feeling like you might see things differently if you just have a little pause from your media consumption, just a little bit, whether it is, you know, not watching as much TV or not being on social media that much. I'm just feeling that it's very important for you to sort of like dull the noise. This will only be a message for a couple of you, but I do feel like for some of you, you're being guided to get into meditation or do something that takes you out of your mind, connects you to your body, maybe go on a walk around your neighborhood or something in the nature around this full moon. Again, no fear ever, but I do want you to be very mindful when it comes to driving. Some of you can be overwhelmed by an automobile purchase that you have to make or automobile problems. And a lot of you with the square to Mars, you feel like you have to take action instantaneously. Again, if you're feeling pressured around, oh, I have to buy this or I have to purchase this right now, like seeing if you could just take a beat. Because again, there's this frazzled, overwhelmed energy. And again, not everybody will have car problems, but that will be a story for a couple of people. And again, like being able to take a moment to gain clarity. Again, when we're in that highly agitated, highly stressed energy, we don't always see things clearly. And again, you're having Mars within your 12th house. Like there are certain things that you are not seeing clear, most likely in your 12th house. There are arenas of your life that you are most likely not seeing totally clearly. So waiting for that energy of clarity to come before you make a decision around automobile or anything like that. And I'm also feeling like for some of you, when I was talking about social media, you're like, wait, but I run my business on social media. I do like my marketing on social media. I do like sales on social media. Like with this in the 3rd house, like also attuning to little like inspirations around the big picture of it all. Like I always think a 3rd house is like Twitter and 9th house where the Pisces sun is as like writing a book, right? So with this full moon in 3rd house, it's around, okay, how do the micro messages that I send out, whether that's in marketing and sales, really reflect the big picture of who it is that I am? And am I feeling called to make some sort of shift or to make some sort of change? Random, not everybody, but some of you can have some disagreements emerge around this time with a neighbor or with a sibling or something of that nature. And again, like, you know, spirituality is a muscle, and it is what the muscle you're being asked to work throughout this Saturn and Pisces transit. It's not always easy to believe in the bigger picture. It's not always easy to show up with faith and intention into, you know, 3rd house is like practical real life problems, which I do feel with this full moon, you're having to be aware of these annoying life problems. And with, you know, Saturn just about to enter your 9th house, perhaps it's already there for some of you, there's this energy around, okay, you have this faith, you have this spirituality. How is it that you can live it? How is it that you can ground it down within your tangible daily life? How can you show up with that person? How can you show up as that person even when things feel stressful? How can that support your mental state to feel held, to feel taken care of? Like with Saturn entering, it won't be necessarily always seamless. It's a muscle. It is a muscle, and it kind of tests our spirituality when things are going wrong for us to still be able to show up with kindness and compassion and faith, or however it is, whatever it is that you believe in. Like 9th house is astrology, it's religion, it's anything that returns us to the big picture again. And the work that you're being asked to do is essentially working that muscle around finding what it is that you believe in and allowing yourself to feel anchored by those beliefs. If the Virgo full moon 2023 lands within the 4th house of your astrological natal chart, this reading is for you. You may potentially be a Gemini rising, but not always. So make sure to listen to the reading of wherever you have 16 degrees Virgo. So if you have this full moon landing in your 4th house, this is a more impactful full moon for you. Not every single full moon is the most dramatic, overwhelming thing of our life, and thank goodness for that, or else every single full and new moon, we'd be all over the place, right? And I'll just let you know that this one may be more pivotal for you, particularly with the spotlight that's being placed on home, family, and emotional state. So you are really having this axis around who it is that you are in private and who it is that you are in the public eye. And for a lot of you, with Saturn entering Pisces, it will transit this 10th house, which is career. And a lot of you are being asked to prove yourself, right? You're being asked to prove yourself within the public eye. You're being asked to cement essentially the efforts that you've done. Some of you have been contemplating a career shift. Maybe you're in the midst of a career shift, and there's this energy around practically and tangibly doing the work in order to show up for that higher version of yourself. And And this Virgo full moon asks, do you have the foundation to support that? How are your habits? Are your habits supporting that? Because I won't lie, with Saturn in 10th house, you can be asked to work harder than you have prior. You can be feeling tested, whether it's like showing up more disciplined as it relates to your own, content, or whether it really showing up to get that promotion. Maybe you're in school to kind of shift into an up-level version of your career. There's this energy around needing to physically and tangibly show up and do the work. And this full moon asks, do you have the foundation to support the essentially growth that you are under? So there is a spotlight around your home environment. So is it a place that you feel overwhelmed? Do you walk in and you just feel stressed? Like, this would be an amazing time to declutter your house, truly. Just observing what is pulling at your attention, because not all of you, but a lot of you will be Gemini ascendant. So I know focus isn't always something that comes necessarily that easily to you all. And a lot of times, like, there is something to be said about out of sight, out of mind. Like, if you walk in, there's just like all of these, tchotchkes, which, don't get me wrong, I love tchotchkes, but if there's just things that pull at your awareness, like seeing where you can clean out, because I'm just feeling it's going to be very helpful for the work that you're going to do within the public eye, to have a home environment that is a little bit more sleek, that helps you focus a little bit better, that helps you attend to this work a little bit easier. And for some of you, maybe you live with roommates, so it's not necessarily possible, or you live with family, and with this full moon, it can be sort of drawing a spotlight on the details of those relationships. So you might be feeling like certain roommates or family relationships have been sort of like nagging you, or being like deeply critical of you and how it is that you live in your home environment. And I just want to let you know that with this full moon squaring, Mars, you can be a little bit more reactive or a little bit more angry. There can be family disagreements or something of that nature. And again, with the Virgo moon, it's just drawing a spotlight around how is it that we can deal with our emotions in the best possible way, right? And with this Virgo lens, like being able to take this constructive criticism approach to how it is that we regulate our emotions, right? Like, you are being asked to kind of shift into this era around an enhanced accountability as it relates to your own emotions. Again, you're moving into the season when you're going to be asked to work very hard when it comes to the public. And so you are being asked to sort of prioritize finding clarity and finding peace within your environment. So maybe that's enacting more boundaries when it relates to family. Maybe it's enacting boundaries as it relates to roommates, like what will support you. Maybe it's enacting certain rituals within yourself, going to therapy, journaling, things that help you emotionally kind of ground down, because most of you will have Mars most likely within your first house currently. So a lot of you are being asked to take a little bit more of an active approach around really facing head on, like I said, with Saturn and Pisces, our relationship to our daydreams are shifting, and that we're not being able to have the space around just escaping, just being like, whatever. We are being asked to be a little bit more proactive, observing what this full moon is drawing your awareness towards, and how it is that you can take this more active approach in order to make your home environment, your emotional state, the most supportive place that it can possibly be. And viewing it through this improvement lens. Again, it's not that you are wrong, it's not that you are too emotional, it's not that you're too messy, but just with the energy of Virgo full moon, it's like, how can I just improve these details? Because I deserve it, right? I deserve to live in a place that I feel peaceful and calm within. If the Virgo full moon lands within the 5th house of your astrological natal chart, this reading is for you. You may potentially be a Taurus rising, perhaps not. Maybe you just have 16 degrees Virgo within the 5th house. Either way, this reading is for you. So this is essentially a delicious divine return to your own essence, to your own creativity, to your own self-expression. You have essentially the Pisces sun within the 11th house at this time, as well as Saturn going to enter this sector if it hasn't yet already. So there is this sort of crystallization around your hopes and dreams that you are building for your future. Again, Saturn tests, so there can be certain energy around feeling limited around envisioning your future, as well as feeling restricted around friendships or things of the nature, whether there's physical distances between you and your friendships, or whether there's certain challenges that you are undergoing within your connection. And so when it comes to this Virgo full moon, it's almost this return to the person that you are, to ensure the dreams that you build and the friendships that you build are built on the right foundation, essentially, on your own essence, on your own self-expression. Okay, like there is this energy around ensuring that what it is that you'll be working on for this next 2.5 years with Saturn and Pisces, as well as the people that you are around, a very important decision that you make, that they celebrate your own essence. They celebrate your own self-expression, the person that you are with the light that you have to give and the creativity that you are here to share. And ensuring that your dreams are built that allow you to celebrate the now, right? Like with this Virgo moon in the 5th house, it's actually kind of a fun full moon. I mean, be careful, it's opposing Neptune, so definitely be mindful around not doing any sort of excess. But with this full moon, it's essentially this return to what is fun for me? Where is it that I create? Where is it that I feel like I am my best self? And how can I build the dreams that honor that? How can I be surrounded by the people who honor that? And honoring during this full moon, which friendships you feel like see you heighten your creativity, as well as where it is that you are feeling called to quote unquote go solo, or where it is that you are feeling called to do your own thing, express yourself in your own way. For those who have children, this is essentially the axis of friendship and children, so you can be feeling this energy around feeling called to want to put more energy towards nurturing your friendships. Maybe just the demands of parenting have sort of made you feel a little bit more detached, and maybe this is sort of a radiant return to the friendships who make you feel connected to the big picture. And outside of even just the parental piece, I just want to add for my lovely Virgo 5th housers is I just want to share that, 5th house is the house of fun. It's the party house. And you have Virgo, which is the sign of improvement. And for some of you, it's just this divine, essentially, reminder to live in the moment, to appreciate all that you've built to this point, as well as understanding the work's not done, certainly. We're really seeing that with this full moon around where it is that you're feeling called to build and the people that you want to build with and what it is that you want to build for your future. But remember to enjoy the now, because when you anchor into the now, you are even more magnetic as you build your pathway forward. So remember to appreciate all that you've built to this point. Remember to have fun. Like, I feel like there's certain aspects of your life right now that you are sleeping on, or like you are not appreciating. Like, remember when you used to want what you currently had. And I want you to anchor in, like, even this affirmation, like, I make the most money. I am the most magnetic when it comes to opportunities and people when I'm having fun, okay? I want you to anchor that in. This does feel to be a more practical house where maybe your favorite hobbies are something that earn you money or something that take care of your physical body. Like, again, fueling efficiency with how it is that we have fun. But I want you to anchor in this idea that it is safe for me to have fun. Having fun helps me achieve my goals. Again, keep your eye on it with the opposition to Neptune. Don't party too hard during this full moon, but definitely create during this full moon. Have fun, return to the radiant person that you are, and understand that sometimes giving ourselves these moments to celebrate life and what we've achieved thus far can be supportive as we continue to climb to the next level and the next. And last piece I just want to highlight, if you have this here, you most likely, not everybody, but a lot of you will have a square to Mars in your 2nd house. So again, as you celebrate, as you party, just make sure not to, spend too much or make any impulsive decisions financially, okay? But definitely if you are someone where it's like, life has been all work and no play, maybe this is a time that you can celebrate life, celebrate yourself, celebrate with the people around you. If the Virgo full moon lands within the 6th house of your astrological natal chart, this reading is for you. You may potentially be an Aries ascendant, but not always. So make sure to listen to the reading of wherever you have 16 degrees Virgo. So this is essentially a spotlight on your habits, my love. It is a spotlight around what it is that you do every day and if it is supporting you. And not only just supporting this current iteration, but supporting like your dreams, your ambitions, where it is that you want to go, right? If it is supporting your mind, for most of you, you will have Mars in your 3rd house. So there can be an energy around looking at what it is that you do every day, how it affects your mind, like your own mental space, like observing. When I wake up and I grab my phone, it puts me in a more negative mental space. Or maybe when I get up and I get sunlight first thing before I need to go to work, it puts me in a more positive mental space. When I take time to take my toddler to the park, it puts me in a more positive mental state. It really is taking the spotlight on the practical ways that you show up, and as well as with, the Pisces sun and its opposing Neptune in Pisces, as well as being able to infuse some spirit into these practical efforts. So before you work out, like saying a little prayer, lighting a little intention candle to say, I'm transitioning into the space where I'm going to take care and nourish my body. I'm going to soothe my mind by working out. I owe this to myself. Like, again, showing up to do the practical work, because like I said, this full moon is essentially pointing at, hey, daily routine, we've got to improve this. But essentially finding ways that you can infuse spirit into it, right? And rather than being like, oh, I have to work out, like being like, wow, I'm so grateful I have this healthy body. I owe this to myself. I'm going to be in a more mental space. Again, it's not easy. It's a muscle that we need to sort of work. And this full moon is sort of illuminating, how is your daily routine supporting you and how is it potentially not? And some of you can be feeling frustrated as it relates to coworkers, like the tensions that have been building. So it could sort of reach a head at this moment. And you could be feeling really busy around this full moon. And truly, it's about how it is that you can infuse spirit into your day-to-day to find that sense of oneness that the Pisces sun is craving, but not in a more nefarious way. Because with, Saturn about to enter or have already entered your 12th house, you are being asked to sort of face your self-sabotaging behaviors, which for some of you, there could have been certain habits that were not serving you, or certain habits that you're being asked to cut out, certain escapism or procrastination. Like this full moon, it's sort of this wake-up call around, hey, the only way that your life is going to improve is if you practically and tangibly face it and do the work. And again, that could be really annoying. That could be a very annoying message to receive, but that's what this full moon is like really asking for. Like, hey, let's get real with ourselves. Let's face our habits head on. Let's face our life head on. We tend to think of our life as like these beautiful, glittery moments, but it also shows up within the daily actions, right? Our life is mostly composed of what it is that we do every day. We think of our life as these moments like vacationing and wedding day and all of these things. And it's like, those are all well and great, but the bulk of your life is around how it is that you get up, is around how it is that you make your breakfast. Do you make your breakfast like, or do you make your breakfast with gratitude and with intention? And with this full moon, it's asking you to just attune to the practical daily efforts and infuse them with spirit, but again, in constructive ways, in allowing your spiritual connection to show up as part of your tangible actions and to lead with that foot forward. And for some of you, this is the house of our work environment. So with the Virgo sun in the 6th, it just feels like you've had a lot on your plate. You've been feeling really overwhelmed. With the square to Mars, you can be feeling frustrated that people aren't working as fast as you are, or maybe you are frustrated with the amount of work that's being put on you. Some of you have been like applying to jobs or just putting the word out there around new opportunities or something that you're wanting to build at this time. And with the Virgo full moon, it is asking for this energy around remembering your why, like understanding, okay, if this job is not for me, just understanding it's not going to last forever. Let me take in the lessons right now. Let me not rush the process, right? With the Mars, you might be feeling so frustrated, like, I want a new job now. It's like, be present. This job can be teaching you something that you're going to leverage within the next. Again, finding ways that you can infuse your why into your daily practical routine, into the efforts that you do at your job. For some of you, there can just be a return to your big picture why and realizing I am at the same role, whether it's helping me further my career, whether I do feel connected to our mission, whether I do feel like I'm making the world a better place. There can be certain events that are sort of a manifestation of that around this time. If the Virgo full moon lands within the 7th house of your astrological natal chart, this reading is for you. You may potentially be a Pisces ascendant, but not always. So make sure to listen to the reading of whichever house you have 16 degrees Virgo within. Okay, so you are essentially one of the main characters of this full moon, as it does bring in angular houses. So for a lot of you, you've been feeling very scattered, trying to be everything for everybody, do everything for everybody. A lot of you could have been having, family conflicts or just having to invest more time as it relates to your family. There's almost this energy around having to be everything for everybody else and not feeling like you have enough for yourself as well. And you guys are embarking upon a very important transit for you all, because Saturn will eventually, if it hasn't already, enter your 1st house. So for a lot of you, you are being asked to level up. You are being asked to do the work in order to take what it is that you dream of and turn it into practical reality. So a lot of you are being asked to face yourself in new ways. And with this full moon casting a spotlight on your relationships, some of you can have certain illuminations as it relates to relationships. So this won't be a message for everybody, but I am feeling for some of you, there can be certain energies within a connection around feeling that your partner is like nagging you, which again, a lot of you will be Pisces ascendants or have Pisces within the 1st house. That can make you want to swim away or make you want to hide. And again, essentially with Saturn 1st house, you're being asked to really show up and to really anchor in the best version of you. And that really can be found around the constructive criticism that is being offered by other people to you. Again, this could show up within an interpersonal connection. This can show up within clients. It can show up within friends. Observing how it is that you take criticism at this time, like where it is that you're defensive or you want to avoid it, or are you showing up to do the work to be like, you know what, I actually could work on that. Let me view this as a challenge. Let me view this as an opportunity to show myself what I'm capable of. And again, it's not coming from this lens around, oh, I'm so flawed, whatever, but just like showing up to do the work, to be like, okay, I see what you're saying, and I'm going to rise up. Rather than making you wrong or avoiding it, I'm going to show up to do the work in order to live out the highest perspective of myself. I feel that with this full moon, it can be illuminating any sort of criticism that you've been feeling for others. And again, you know, you've been torn in many different directions, and maybe what someone's saying is like, you need better boundaries when it relates to your family or when it relates to your home environment, something in the nature. Maybe someone's giving you that sort of advice, and there's part of you that you don't want to hear it. You're like, no, because a lot of you, you know, lead with like hearts wide open, and you're really being asked, the big thing about Saturn about to enter your first house, you're being asked to have boundaries. So I want you to pay attention to what people are telling you at this time. It's not that they know you better than you do, but they can see certain dynamics that you don't see. Observing if your partner is like, hey, you know, you've been going above and beyond for this particular family member. When's the last time you took care of yourself? Rather than being like, you don't understand, being like, is there some truth to that? Can I view this as a growing opportunity to see, hey, you know, this relationship has felt really out of balance? Because again, compassion with boundaries is the ask of Saturn first house. And sometimes other people within your life can have more clarity around where you have not been admiring your boundaries. And so for some of you with this full moon in the 7th house, there is an illumination on others. There's an illumination on clients, on friends, and how it is that they enhance your world, on how safe or unsafe you feel to be yourself within them, how it is that these connections ground you, right? How it is that they sort of allow you a safe space to release your frustrations. Because I do see with Mars in 4th house, a lot of you can find that you've been extra angry or extra frustrated or extra rushed lately. And I just feel like with this full moon, you can have certain connections or certain conversations where you allow yourself to feel grounded. And for some of you, maybe it's just this awareness around understanding, hey, this is a connection that I'm actually giving more than I am, you know, receiving from it. And maybe this is an opportunity for me to, you know, put the boundaries. I do think some people will show up for you with this full moon, but also observing those who don't, or those who pull at you, or when you go into certain environments, who it is that you feel drained and exhausted. And again, there's a difference between constructive criticism, like people being able to spotlight, because that's a true friend, that's a true partner, is being able to spotlight ways that you can be leveling up to your own potential. Because again, they see it within you. That's why they're telling you. There's a difference between that and then someone who's trying to nag you and pull you down. So again, taking the intention of what people are sharing with you at that time and seeing it as an opportunity around, wow, okay, this is an opportunity for me to level up. This is an opportunity for me to be the best version of myself. This person sees it within me, and I'm going to rise to that occasion. But also observing where it is that people are just intentionally trying to tear you down. Again, there can be many illuminations around relationships, as well as if you're someone who is single during this full moon, there can just be an illumination around the sort of person that you are wanting to call in at this time. And again, it can be different than people that you called in prior. You're having Saturn entering your first house, which is really like this level up, new life energy. So with new life, new you, that can be a new boo. Or at least just being drawn to someone who's a little bit more in the Saturnian space that you're in. So someone who is a bit more committed or serious or what have you. If the Virgo full moon lands within the 8th house of your astrological natal chart, this reading is for you. You may potentially be an Aquarius ascendant. You may not be. Make sure to listen to whichever reading of the house that you have 16 degrees Virgo within. So this is essentially this illumination around where is it that you are trying to plan your future rather than living it. And it's not that this house is the future, but this is the house of things that cannot be controlled. It's house of death and taxes, essentially. And with this very analytical energy of Virgo, it's this energy around where it is that you are trying to control and perfect rather than just live. And again, it's not always easy when we have a lunation here. It can be energy where the wisdom, the answers that we're looking for come from this more murky place, right? We want answers. We want the GPS coordinates. When are we going to arrive? When are we going to get what it is that we want? And it's almost a full moon to understand, remember to like sink into this particular iteration. Like, the answers that we seek. I know it's so corny, but oftentimes it is in the exploration, in that we build character. And maybe your universe is only letting you hear the answers of what is the most supportive for you at this particular iteration, this particular step. And I also want to highlight, like, a lot of you feel like you have to do it all yourself. And this is a full moon. Allow other people to support you, whether it's vocalizing, this is what I need help with. Allow not just other people, but also the universe to support you. Universe, can you help me? Can I have a sign? Can you give me a sign that I'm moving the right direction? Like, this is unexpected support coming to you, as well as 8th house is support that we receive from others, loans, grants, inheritances, things of that nature. This can be an arena around feeling safe to accept support. And now I don't want you to have any fear when it comes to this transit, but I do want to let you know that Saturn is most likely, if it hasn't yet entered your 2nd house. So there is this energy around having to get real about your finances and ensuring that they are built to last. And I just want you to be open to other people and how it is that they can support you, whether it's being open to other people's advice, financial advice, whether it's being open to other people supporting you, loans, investments in your company, anything of that nature. With this full moon, allow the universe to show you how supported you are by the people within your life, right? And obviously when it comes to finances, I don't want to incite any fear. A lot of times when it comes to Saturn, 2nd house, it's not that we're losing money, it's more so that new initiatives have showed up that makes us be a bit more regimented and really set up our finances so that they are built to last. And with this energy, it's really balancing the material with the spiritual, right? So remembering as you reach and set your financial goals to remember what it is that you're doing for your bigger picture legacy that you're hoping to live, what it is that fuels you as a soul. Like, there really is this balance here around, yes, doing the practical material work, but also trusting that that spirit, that universe will do it, that it'll meet you halfway. If you show up and are diligent about what it is that you are working on and the bank account that you are aiming to build and all of these things, like, the universe will show up for you and other people will show up for you in unexpected ways. So be open during this lunation of support coming in from all unexpected ways. And I just want to highlight with this particular transit, just being mindful as it relates to being overly reckless. Definitely not the time I would gamble or anything of that nature. You certainly could be in the mood to have a good time, blow up steam with Mars in your 5th house. You definitely could be in the mood for deeper intimacy, partner and otherwise, for sure. But just being mindful with this energy to blend down, the material, sensual pleasures of life, right? 2nd house with the kind of metaphysical, spiritual elements of it, and understanding that intimacy oftentimes encapsulates both of those. So just something for you to know. If the Virgo full moon lands within the 9th house of your astrological natal chart, this reading is for you. You may potentially be a Capricorn rising, but you may not be. You just have 16 degrees Virgo within your 9th house. Either way, this reading is for you. So this is essentially an energy around attuning to your big picture, right? And a lot of you, I just feel like you've been kind of in a headspace where you're feeling more emotional, you're feeling more overwhelmed. And with this full moon in the 9th house, especially in earth sign, allow your spiritual connection to be something that is grounding for you, okay? Allowing yourself to, it's fascinating, the transit that you guys particularly have been having, just because, in whole sign, you may not have these literally here, but a lot of you have been on this journey around anchoring into the present moment and like anchoring into the now, which can be very uncomfortable. A lot of you are Capricorn risings. You're always in the future. You're planning ahead. You're 5 steps ahead. And right now you're being kind of yanked back to be able to, okay, tune to this step and this step and find the joy in this step and this step. And can you release attachment to when you're going to get there and what exactly is going to happen? Can you just enjoy the journey? Can you observe what this particular journey is showing you? Can you observe the wisdom that you are learning from it? And this full moon is allowing your spiritual connection to be something that is grounding for you, right? And to see, the forest and not just the trees of your life. Truly, with the Virgo moon in the 9th house, you could get an illumination around, wow, I feel so much more positive about the direction that my life is going when I am, studying this particular religion, or when I'm studying astrology or anything of that nature. That helps me. And I really want you, with this Virgo full moon in your 9th house, like, allow your spirituality to be baked into your daily routine. Like, seriously, a lot of us with the Saturn and Pisces transit, we're being asked to live by our spirituality. And like, you particularly with this full moon, you can't have this illumination around, wow, my everyday perspective is so much stronger when I start it with prayer, when I start it with meditation. For some of you, you can be feeling a call or a drive around wanting to like run away wanting to run away, wanting to, travel somewhere new, be somewhere new. And I highlight this because a lot of you are having Mars in your 6th house, and that's where the retrograde was. So you've just had a lot on your plate. You've been busy, busy, busy. And there's just almost this energy where it's just like, I just want to attune to the big picture. I just want to run away. And again, maybe not run away, right? Like with, Saturn 3rd house, you can be asked to kind of learn a new skill to a deeper level, kind of having to work that muscle around building positivity from the inside out. But with this Virgo full moon, allowing yourself to maybe set your sights on a new adventure or something that you are consciously using to take yourself out of your comfort zone in order to excavate and be the best version of yourself. Because, the Virgo full moon is always improvement centric, right? And some of you, there could just be an illumination around higher education that you're craving, whether it's a course or master's program or just illuminations. If you are in school right now, illuminations around what would support you in being a better student. If the Virgo full moon lands within the 10th house of your astrological natal chart, this reading is for you. You may potentially be a Sagittarius rising. You may not be. Just listen to the reading of wherever you have 16 degrees Virgo. So for you, there is this illumination to the service that you are providing to a bigger picture. You can expect during this time to be feeling a lot busier. Certainly, a lot of people are demanding a lot from you. You could be having to advocate for yourself more so as it relates to clients or partners or things of that nature. It's just, you're feeling very scattered. This is a more pivotal full moon for you as it does land in an angular house. So you could be feeling drained, trying to be everything to everybody, do everything for everybody, right? And this full moon is about remembering the service that you provide to others. And you might be like, well, Haley, I don't do service right now. Like there can be a certain illumination around a certain career field that you want to go towards, or perhaps you don't consider yourself someone who gives a service. Maybe you're someone who, for example, works at a diner. Like this is sort of a full moon around returning back to, okay, maybe I don't feel like I'm doing my life's work quite yet, but I made that kid smile when I gave him a milkshake and that feels good for my soul. Like allowing yourself to return to the intrinsic benefits of your work, which again, I know sometimes work is work. Sometimes we're not there. So it's either appreciating those moments as they show up within your place of employment or observing where it is that you are feeling called to be of service to the collective, to a bigger picture. So maybe with this Virgo energy, it's around, with the Virgo energy, it is around wanting to be genuinely helpful for individuals, wanting to genuinely make a difference in people's lives. So with this Virgo full moon in the 10th house, there can be this divine confirmation during this time if you are in the right industry, or you could be feeling this call around maybe my abilities would be better in a different arena, and that is okay. Like where you are kind of embarking upon this work, as I highlighted earlier, is in this very sacred house. It's in the 4th house of home and family and emotional state. So you're being asked to kind of shift into this era of being more accountable and more responsible over your emotions, over your home, over your family. And when it comes to the Virgo full moon essentially landing here, it's like, okay, as I take care and build my private reality, how am I showing up within the public, and how can I continue to anchor myself to my personal mission statement, what it is that I want people to feel, do, and experience as they interact with me, as I work, as they interact with my business. This is anything public, right? And with the energy of Virgo, how am I being of service? How do I aim to improve people's lives? As well as how do my daily routines support that, right? Like it's so cliche, but I'm just going to repeat it. You cannot pour from an empty cup, okay? And with this Virgo full moon, it could be illuminating where you could be having compassion burnout at this time. Like I'm telling you, your boundaries need to be on point. For Saturn, about to, if it hasn't already, entered your 4th house. Like you have to be as disciplined about caring and keeping for yourself as you are for other people, and for a lot of you, as you are within career. So it's really asking for boundaries in both lens, which I know is easier said than done. But I really just want you to return to your big picture around the changes that you are creating, as micro or as macro as they are having, how much you feel like you are being genuinely helpful, being genuinely of service, and ensuring that to a mind-body level, to a spiritual level, that you are taking care of yourself. I'm hearing strongly that for some of you, you're being asked to ensure that you are clearing off your energy. So even having a spray in your car before you go to work or after work. Like a lot of you, I just feel like you're feeling really burnt out because you're picking up a lot of energy at work. So I'm just hearing stronger boundaries there, as well as just having those routines, whether it's leaving work at work, having a ritual when you get home, you meditate right away. Like I'm just hearing there needs to be habits that support your work so that you don't take on too much. Because a lot of you are drawn to a healing or a helping profession of some sort. as your level of care grows, so does your care and keeping of your own soul need to grow to match it. If the Virgo full moon lands within the 11th house of your astrological natal chart, this reading is for you. You may potentially be a Scorpio ascendant, but you may not be. Listen to whichever reading. You have 16 degrees Virgo within. So for you, there is this illumination on the hopes and dreams for your future. And if your hobbies support it, okay, because with essentially this lunation, the Pisces sun is lighting up your 5th house. So it's really illuminating your partying habits, your fun habits, your hobbies. And then with this Virgo moon in the 11th, it's asking, is that supporting where it is that you want to go? Are these habits that you want to integrate or have baked into your soul? Are these people that you want to be surrounded by? Because it's fascinating. You are entering into the season where Saturn will eventually, on the same day, really, but to get specific on when it enters your 5th house, you'll want to check the degrees, but Saturn does enter the 5th house. So you are being asked to work on your play. It's in the house of play. And, this doesn't have to be a buzzkill. Truly can be a time that you meet someone serious. It can be a time that you up-level hobby into something that earns you money, into a business of some sort. It doesn't need to be bad, but essentially there is this energy where you're taking a more analytical eye on how it is that you're spending your time and who it is that you're surrounded by, and really seeing, okay, if I keep living how I've been living, I'm going to keep getting what I've been getting. And do I like what I've been getting? How can I dial in my habits, my routines in order to get me to where I want to go? As well as how inspired do I feel by the people around me, whether it's online communities, my friendships, and how is it that I can ingrain into my daily routine, putting myself out there or connecting or networking, right? With the Virgo full moon landing here. And for some of you, I'm just feeling this essence around, you've been having to advocate or fight for other people to support you. Hey, I need help here. Or maybe for some of you who haven't felt comfortable voicing it, I'm just hearing with this full moon, observe the friends around you who genuinely want to see you succeed, or the friends who are sort of have secret hater energy. There is such a difference between someone who's I see your full potential, and that's why I want to say to you that you aren't living by it, A, B, and C. I want you to observe which friends encourage positive habits in you and which do not, okay? Which people are genuinely there to support you to a soul, and which people are just there for a good time. And with this full moon, I won't lie, this axis, it tends to be kind of a fun full moon, a lot of social outings, a lot of busyness, whether it's online or just when it comes to creativity, there's just a lot going on, right? But really observe that. Really pay attention to who is really supporting and wants the best from you, because it's so weird. People want to see you doing good, but they don't want to see you doing better than them. And, with this full moon, there can be an illumination around where it is that you feel genuinely supported, where it is that you're moving towards your hopes and dreams, and where you're wow, I kind of wish people showed up for me a little bit more. And if the Virgo full moon lands within the 12th house of your astrological natal chart, this reading is for you. You may potentially be a Libra ascendant, or you just have 16 degrees Virgo within the 12th house. Either way, this reading is for you. So this full moon is essentially highlighting where it is that you are your own biggest hater, where it is that you are self-sabotaging yourself. And I feel for some of you, you've been self-sabotaging yourself through your schedule. I'm feeling that some of you, your preferred way to escape is through work or just being as busy as possible. And I'm just hearing, I'm telling you, because I just went through this transit, you guys have Saturn just about to enter your 6th house, or it's already there, and it's fist fighting with time is what it feels like. You have to be so structured, so organized when it comes to your time, where it is that you're going. And I'm just feeling a lot of you are not having great boundaries. It's you're giving your time and your energy to whoever asks for it. And this Virgo full moon is let's ensure we have time for ourselves. The good thing about Saturn, is that Saturn reminds us that time is a finite resource. And it makes us realize, hey, I don't actually have time to be giving to everybody and have enough for me too. There are certain arenas, whether it's areas of my work, whether it's areas of my errands, there are certain things that I am going to have to let go in order to be able to do it all, right? We cannot do it all. That is a fabricated myth that's been told to us. We do have to get real around what it is that we physically have to take on, what it is that we don't. And I'm just feeling for some of you with Pisces 6th house, either you have not great boundaries around what it is that you take on, whether it's work projects or errands or wanting to be of service, or I'm just hearing some of you to escape through work, just being if I could do it all, if I could be perfect, if I could be on it, then I would feel good about myself or what have you. And just with this Virgo full moon, it's are you being your own biggest hater? Like, are you self-sabotaging by keeping your schedule so full to the brim that you don't have any space for yourself? And when it comes to this Virgo full moon, also observing how it is that you talk to yourself, if you're deeply critical of yourself, when you say no, if it's coming from a place of I feel guilty, or just understanding, no, I can't, and I need to advocate for myself because no one will advocate for me the way that I will, right? And I'm just really feeling with this full moon, it's a really beautiful time to connect to your spirituality and to allow that to be something that is very grounding for you. Like when it comes to this Virgo full moon, in the 12th, squaring off with Mars, most likely in the 9th. Like at this moment, like your spiritual connection or attunement to the bigger picture, whether it's astrology, spirituality, cards, whatever returns you to the big picture of it all. Like I'm just feeling that's a very grounding force for you right now. So it's basically asking, if your schedule is so busy that you don't even have time to feel, you don't have time to think, you don't have time to process. Sometimes that can be nice because we're able to avoid certain stuff, but it's basically saying it's not sustainable, right? It's not sustainable. While it can be helpful at times to be so busy that we don't have time to cry or breathe or process, it's not necessarily sustainable. So it's just sort of asking for you to have some sort of quiet time. For some of you, I feel you're in a job search, and I'm just hearing, ensure do the physical work, but match it with the spiritual. So as you turn in that application, maybe as an extra little boost, schedule it to go out during like a supportive planetary hour. So like during Jupiter's hour, Venus hour, right? I'll link a video below if you want to learn more about planetary hours. That's like a little thing that I do. And again, it's like doing the practical material work, 6th house, but infusing this extra spiritual boost into it, right? Like using planetary hours, or maybe it's, if you are going to apply for this particular job, like wearing a color that feels like your soul color so you could best express yourself. Again, finding that beautiful merging around, yes, showing up for the practical, but ensuring that you're matching it with the spiritual. And for some of you, if you're burnt out, if you're overwhelmed, like I'm just hearing, it's so important to listen to your soul. I feel like it's whispering and it doesn't want to scream because our intuition is so accurate, but it's so quiet and it's been trying to get your attention, but you've been so busy that you haven't been able to tune in. So I'm just hearing during this full moon, tune in, allow your spiritual connection to be something that is grounding, something that is supporting from the inside out. So loves, that is our Virgo full moon. I'm so curious, what do you think is going to come to the surface within your world? What are you looking forward to about this lunation? What are you not looking forward to as much? I will say it's going to light up my chart like the 4th of July, so I'm a little worried about it. But again, let's anchor in this idea around cleaning up the messes of our life because we owe it to ourselves through the best versions of ourselves. Again, Virgo's perspective on life around continual growth and continual improvement can sometimes be harsh, but what a beautiful love language to see our own potential and to see what it is that we could be with such a clarity that we know that it's within us. So we challenge ourselves to arise to that version. Like that's really the purest version of self-love that I could even imagine. So again, Virgo full moon will point out messes for you to clean up, ways that you could be showing up better. But again, understanding it does that because it cares, and we can arise to this challenge and really excavate the best version of ourselves from it. So my loves, my Instagram handle is @HaleyCometAstrology. My TikTok is the same. I would still love to connect with you over there. Thank you so much, Magic Mind, for sponsoring this video. I'm telling you guys, if this Virgo full moon has inspired you to take better care of your mind and take better care of your body, I deeply recommend Magic Mind. It's a more mindful way to caffeinate, to support your brain, to support your body. It's so supportive for staying in flow state, even when we have these overwhelming, erratic, distracting full moons. And until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay cosmic.